Hi there, it's me, Annalisa Boyd, Orthodox Christian wife, mom to 8, bread baker, candy maker, self-proclaimed doula, accidental midwife, and the author of The Ascetic Lives of Mothers, Hear Me, and Special Agents of Christ, all through Ancient Faith Publishing. So today I wanted to talk about something that I think is very important, and it is another kind of serious topic again, and I think it's important for a lot of different reasons, but maybe you'll understand a little bit more once I finish my story. So we have a deacon's wife in our church who is terminally ill, and she is in the last stages. Hospice has been participating in her care, and we're trying to do everything that we can to help the family and our deacon and everybody. Their kids are all grown and they have grandkids. But it is a great sadness to know that she's going to be passing from this life, and a joy also that she will be received into the arms of Christ. But it's understandable. She is older. She has raised her children. She has lived her life. And so it's not a huge surprise that she could get sick and be in this situation where her life is at its end. With this in mind, we knew that she was sick, and we were kind of expecting a message from our priest letting us know that she had passed away. And so on June 15th, 2016, I opened my email. We were on vacation, and I saw the words at the top, memory eternal. And of course I thought, oh, okay, this dear sweet lady has gone to be with the Lord. Thankful that she's no longer in pain, praying for the family. And I opened the email, and it said instead, memory eternal for David Lowers, who is 17 years old. He died in a plane crash. Now, that shook me. I read the email several times. Our priests were at the Parish Life Conference, and so they weren't even here. David was a young pilot. He was not the one flying. His family owns a aerial photography business, and so he had gotten his pilot's license at 17, and he was so excited. And he actually was the youngest person to land at Denver International Airport, which was very exciting and amazing. But something went wrong, and the plane went down, killing the pilot, David, and the photographer in a small plane. But this couldn't be happening because David was young. Young people don't die. I mean, there are fluke things, but that happens somewhere else. That doesn't happen in our parish. That's bad news that we hear with people that we don't know. Or is it? Well, the thing is that's very important is that a lot of us don't think about death. We don't know when we're going to die. Chances are, with the medicine that we have now and hygiene that we have now, that we're not going to lose lots of babies in infancy or children early on. But the reality is, and the reality that we need to keep in mind ourselves and teach to our children, is that we don't know when our lives are going to be required of us. Not in a morbid way, not in this we have to be constantly fearful way, but we don't know. If you turn on the news or look at anything anywhere or listen to any conversations, you're going to hear discussions about the terrorism that is taking place all over the world, the persecution of Christians, the random acts of violence, the people who didn't think that when they went out that day that they were going to be, yet another person added to the number of people who have been killed from just violent acts. They didn't know. You had people, in Nairobi going to the mall, or people going to a movie theater, or people out dancing, or people at church during Mass, or people, at a concert, or people at their place of business. Nobody, the day that they were in that situation and lost their lives, had any inkling that that was going to be their last day and that was how their lives were going to end. Again, not to be fearful, but just to really push forward that idea that we don't know. We don't know. And it is our job to encourage our children and to prepare ourselves for the thing that is inevitable for everyone. It's not a maybe this will happen. We have 2 examples of people who didn't die, So chances are we're not going to be that third. We have Enoch and we have Elijah, but, then there we go. Everybody else has died. Everybody else. So we're going to be part of that group. Now, and the wonderful thing that we have to also keep present in our minds at all times is that Christ is risen, that he trampled down death by death. So death does not defeat us. Death does not separate us from God, but death is something that is real and that we have to be prepared for. So that's what I've been thinking about with everything that's been going on in the world, and with this, shock of this young man from my Sunday school, from our parish, dying so unexpectedly, such a young age. Now, when I was 15, I was in a huge car accident, and it was just an inexperienced driver, and she overcorrected. We ended up sliding across the freeway, sliding across the road, and then flipping 3 times and landing on the other side of the freeway. And the girl sitting next to me was killed instantly. It was a convertible, and the car landed on her. And my understanding of my mortality changed in an instant. I knew at that moment that my faith was not something that I could put off until tomorrow or even until the next moment, because I wasn't guaranteed tomorrow. I wasn't guaranteed that next moment. She had just turned 15 and I was 3 days away from turning 16. And she was the only fatality, but moments before, we didn't know that our evening was going to end that way. We were just going to go have a good time and hang out, and it ended differently. And so that has really impacted my life. Are we ready to die? This is a question that we should ask ourselves, not in a depressing, morbid way, but are we prepared to die? And if we're not, what do we need to do to prepare ourselves to die? Now, I have this great book. It is absolutely chewed up by the dog, but it is a wonderful, wonderful book, and it has a lot of quotes by the elders, holy elders of Optina. And one thing that they say about death, this is Saint Nikon. I don't even know if I say that right. He says, "Fear of death is from the demons. They strike such fear in the heart that it loses hope in the mercy of God." Now, God is absolutely 100% merciful, and he gives us all opportunity after opportunity to constantly strive toward him, to constantly be on that path toward him, that narrow, narrow path. Or as Paul says, running that race with perseverance, that race that is set before us, right? And so that is what our lives are supposed to be. So if we keep that in mind at all times, how are we going to live our lives differently? Are we going to live our lives differently? A lot of people, when they find out they're dying, they start doing things that they wouldn't have done before. And I would argue that it's important for us to always try to already have things in order. What would that look like if we were living in such a way where we understood that We don't know when Jesus is coming. We don't know if we are going to be persecuted unto death and become martyrs. We don't know if we're going to be, driving along, walking along, sitting in our house, a tree fall. I mean, we don't know. We don't know. Not anything to be afraid of, but we don't know. But we should live in such a way because we know that we are going to die at some point, and we should live our lives in a way that glorifies God. Right? We are told to store up for ourselves treasure in heaven. And to me, that goes along with this, because if we are working out our salvation, if we are working on storing up treasures in heaven, then we are learning not to concern ourselves so much with all the little things in this life. And that is what's going to make a difference, because we're going to be investing in relationships within our family, within our community, within our church, and around the world. We're going to be investing in the lives of people. We are going to be consciously doing good works for the glory of God. We are going to learn how to let those little annoyances go, the things that we allow to just tick us off, to no end. I mean, dumb little things that make such an impact and distract us so much that we lose sight of what is important. And during those moments, we are not preparing ourselves to meet Christ. We are turning our back, and we don't want to do that. We want to constantly be going down that path, and it may be slow going, and that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't have to be big leaps and bounds and skipping down the lane, the narrow path to heaven, but we do need to keep going in that direction, not stand still and not get sidetracked, and let the little things go and embrace Christ and do what He's calling us to do with the people that we interact with. I just wanted to bring that up because I know David had no idea that this was the end for him. Now, with his life, there have been so many mercies, and he was such a stinker in Sunday school class. I'm going to let you know. He was one of those kids where he had a twinkle in his eye, and but the love of Christ in his heart. And just when you think he didn't get it, just when you thought he wasn't paying attention, he would answer a question, and you're like, he totally has it all in there. He gets it. He was at peace with everyone before he passed, which was a miracle. Everything had been reconciled. So God knew, but he didn't know. Nobody else knew, of course. But let us live our lives with the understanding that death is present, that death is our end for us, for our children. We don't want our kids to be scared, but we also don't want them to be so far removed from that reality that they don't allow it to help them make decisions in their lives. Is this choice that I'm making right now preparing me for life eternal? Yes or no? So anyway, that's all I have for you today. I could go on, and I may do a second one because I think this is very important. But let's keep on working out our salvation one mama moment